hashtag subscribe to don't subscribe, please. You are probably wondering, Jack, how on earth have you made this happen? Well, I didn't really do much, to be honest. Basically, a couple of nights ago, Mr. Beast followed us on Twitter. It was obviously very exciting. I've watched Mr. Beast for a couple of years, and I thought, hey, maybe he just likes my videos. Who wouldn't? They are very good, to be fair. But then at 3 AM on Friday night, we receive a DM. I have an interesting proposal for you. So I do like interesting proposals, particularly when they come from people that give away $700,000 islands to their friends. But I had no idea what it was about. I thought perhaps he wants to purchase my PewDiePie 100 million award chest, because I know he likes collecting stuff like that, and he likes PewDiePie. But we had also very recently released our world record video, so I thought maybe he wanted to help with that, or maybe he wanted to try and beat the record himself. So we keep it simple and we say, hello Mr. Beast, what is your proposal? And this is where it gets very exciting. I think it'd make a fun video and no pressure if you don't want to do it. So before I read this, bit of background for you. We have a bit of a unique talent here at Jack Sucks at Life Productions, and that is getting pointless YouTube channels to 100,000 subscribers. We created a channel called TurdBoy420, and we did unedited 1-minute toaster reviews. Yo, 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 all my turd boys, TurdBoy420 in the his house. 228,000 subscribers. Here's the play button. Then we made a YouTube channel called Jack Sucks at Pop-Up Pirate, where I play the kids game Pop-Up Pirate. Unedited solo Pop-Up Pirate gameplay, 145,000 subscribers. And then most recently, we created a channel with the longest name possible called Jack's Epic YouTube Channel, full of fun times and fun high-rate kiss. And without any videos, we got to 100,000 subscribers. So I assume Mr. Beast saw all of this, and as he said in the intro, he wanted to set us a big challenge. There's the rest of what he said. I have a channel with 0 subscribers, and I'm willing to pay you 10 cents for every sub you get it, up to $100,000. I think it'd be a fun challenge for your audience to see how high they can go and how much money you can milk out of me. Like I said, up to you. So at this point, I have an important decision to make. On one hand, we could collaborate with one of the biggest and most influential YouTubers and potentially get $100,000 without really having to do much. Or on the other hand, we could not do any of those things. So I remained level-headed and I kept it cool and I responded with, okay, yes please Mr. Beast, that would be amazing, thank you Mr. Beast, I love all of your videos by the way, can you make the checkout to Jack Sucks at Life, thank you. So then he links me this YouTube channel and a flirtatious emoji, and he says, do your worst. So let's do it. Let's get as much money as possible out of Mr. Beast. Please, if you have not already, click the top link in the description and subscribe to Don't Subscribe. As of filming, it's got no subscribers, but watch this. Oh my god, we've just earned 10 cents. Let's do a little refresh. The first of many, there it is. Oh my god. This could be my new job. I could quit all my other channels and I could just make alt accounts all day, and I reckon I'd earn a pretty decent living. So I think it's safe to say, with our track record, that it's pretty much guaranteed we're going to get to 100,000 subscribers, and therefore we're going to make $10,000 just right off the bat, which is already crazy. So I think what I want to say, obviously I'm not a millionaire or anything, I have a mortgage to pay, but I do earn a good amount of money from YouTube, and it would feel weird to keep 100% of everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that 20% of any money that this project generates will go straight to charity. So if we get to 1 million subscribers and make $100,000, that's $20,000, which will go to good causes. It feels kind of weird keeping the other 80k for myself, but he gave bloody Chandler a $700,000 island in a video a couple of weeks ago. And like I said, any money that we make from this will make a massive difference to my life, Becky's life, and even little Flossie's life. Subscribe to Don't Subscribe. Don't do it for my sake. Do it for Flossie's. Look, I don't even care if you're not subscribed to my channel. That's irrelevant now. Our main focus is subscribing to... In fact, we've got 8 YouTube channels. Let's earn 80 cents. So I've logged into my old YouTube channel, Sam Smells Apricots. Yeah, we've not uploaded for 8 years. But I'll tell you what we are going to do. We're going to subscribe to Don't Subscribe. And we're even going to whack notifications on. Oh my god, that's 20 cents. That's 20 cents right there. Look at the banner. Please don't subscribe so I don't have to give Jack money. Lol. Ignore the banner and subscribe to Don't Subscribe. Hey, you know what? I think Jackson's Pirate would be interested in subscribing to Don't Subscribe. Oh, there's another one. TurdBoy420. Go on. TurdBoy420 is going to subscribe with this play button. There we go. So as well as giving a lot of money to charity, what else can we do to make this interesting? Well, how about some challenges? Let's say that for every 100,000 subscribers we get, leading up to 1 million, I will do some kind of challenge in return. So I'm going to set the first one. If we get to 100,000 subscribers tonight, then I will upload every single day next week on my second channel, Jack Sucks at Life. So that's a bunch more free content. But what I need you to do is, in the comments of this video, video, suggest the other 9 challenges, make them increasingly more difficult. They can be whatever you want. For example, I have to dye my hair or something. So I will pick the best suggestions or the worst suggestions, and I will do a follow-up video on this channel coming up with the 9 challenges. Now, I've just subscribed with 4 YouTube channels. Mr. Beast didn't say you couldn't do that as well. So if you've got more than one YouTube channel, please subscribe to Don't Subscribe, because literally every subscriber counts. This is going to be an amazing project. I can't wait to see what happens. Potentially we could get a few YouTube friends to share Don't Subscribe.
Subscribe. Don't subscribe.
If you get me to 1 million subs, I'll give you your diamond play button back. The only other thing I want to do in this video is call my old friend Mini Mooka. Because 2 years ago, Mr. Beast did a video donating to YouTube streamers, and because Mini guessed the wrong number, he actually lost out on receiving $2,000.
Not gonna lie, probably could have used that money.
So Mini's not going to know this until he watches this video, but if we get to 1 million subs, I will very, very generously take a ginormous $2,000 out of my minuscule $80,000, and I will give it to Mini Mooka so that he finally gets the money he lost out on. Anyway, we're going to give him a FaceTime, and I'm going to see if I can get him to subscribe to Don't Subscribe. Alright, keep in mind, we've not told anyone about this yet.
Sure. Skip this ad. Just like you skipped out on buying Amazon stock and Google and Apple. Need I go on? I'm sure you think you're too busy to invest online. You want to see busy? I got enough more.
What do you want?
Hi Mini, are you alright?
Well, I'm out for lunch in a minute. What's up?
I was wondering, could you subscribe to a new YouTube channel, please?
What now?
It's just another YouTube channel that I've got that I just need you to subscribe to.
What's in it for me?
I can't tell you just yet. You'll see when you watch the video.
Alright, well, send me the link.
It's
Anything for me, boy.
thanks, Minnie. It's just a collab I'm working on with Mr. Beast.
You what? Mr. Beast?
Yeah, it's just for a little collab I'm working on with Mr. Beast, where he's giving us $100,000. So basically, every time someone subscribes, I get 10 cents.
What?
It's capped at 1 million subscribers though, so.
Jack. How much would it work out if it was like 10,000 subs?
10,000 subs would be $1,000. People.
What do you mean you mean for? 10 cents.
Every cent counts, Minnie. Every cent counts. Have a look at me DMs.
Why you didn't give me that 1,500 when it came in my stream?
Yeah,
It came in my stream.
I'll mess you about that back in 2018, wasn't it?
Well, look, everyone subscribe to the channel.
Minnie, I'll send you the link, alright, friend?
Make so much money. This is like the only time you get monetary gain from your stupid little channel.
I know. I've literally played Pop-Up Pirate daily for nothing, and now
What's the channel called?
it's called Don't Subscribe.
Oh, come on, I'll subscribe then.
Thanks, man. Right, I appreciate that. You know what, Minnie? I'll give you 1 cent back for your subscription for free. That I'll PayPal you, mate. Don't worry about it.
Well, if you did this anyway.
Oh, you enjoy. See you later, bye. Let's get the link sent over, shall we? He's dropped in all caps, what the F. I also need to tell him not to tell anyone about this, because he bloody witched on to everyone about the diamond play button. Well, that's it for this video. Obviously, we'll do a follow-up with our 9 challenges for every 100,000 subscribers. I have no idea how many subscribers we're going to gain. I think getting the first 100k is the easy part, because you are all just so amazing.
No, I'm not locked out. I just want to see if you could break into my house. The deadbolt doesn't really have a brand. It's a stuffed brand deadbolt, which I'm pretty sure you've never seen one of these before. I guess I should explain what's going on here. I designed and built what I think is an unpickable lock. Although for some reason, my wife doesn't share my unfounded confidence.
If you really want to convince people, you should have an expert try it.
You don't think I'm an expert?
No, I do. I just mean a real expert.
She's totally calling me out. And as an easily manipulated man, I just can't let that stand. So I found a locksmith and challenged them to break into my house. I spent so much time on this lock and I just need it to work. This was one of those unexpectedly difficult projects. I had to design some parts more than 10 times until I could get them reliable enough to have a locksmith go at it. We're gonna have to do some real work here to unpack this lock, because you need to understand how locks are picked, and to understand how locks are picked, you need to understand how locks work. So let's get into it. Imagine that I have a bar that I can slide in and out of a slot. This could be a deadbolt for a house or whatever. If I put a pin through both pieces, this bar is now locked. I can't move it. This is about the simplest possible lock. And this is a very insecure lock because all that I have to do is push this up, and then this green part, it's unlocked. If I split the pin into 2 pieces, I have to push on it the exact right amount so that this lines up with this. If I push it too far, then the lower piece jams the lock. If I don't push it enough, the upper piece jams the lock. And then a key for this lock is just something with a little wedge that will push these up the correct amount so that it can slide past. Let's take that drawing into the third dimension, sort of. Here's how you unlock it with the key. I also made a lockpick. All I have to do is slowly lift the pin upwards as I pull on the locked part, and it will just pop open when the pin is in the right spot. You can now pick single pin two-dimensional locks. Lock designers realized that one pin isn't quite enough. So what they said is, well, if you like one pin so much, how about 5? I'm using my Glowforge laser cutter to make these locks. It's awesome for quick prototyping. Lifting 5 pins simultaneously to the correct height is easy for a key, but if you think about it, picking a lock with 5 pins should be almost totally impossible. Imagine that I have a 5-letter password that I need to guess. The number of combinations of letters is really high. In fact, if you do the math, it's about 12 million combinations. You have the same problem trying to guess the position of the pins in a lock. What it really comes down to is that, just like us, locks live in the real world. And that means, despite what they show in magazines, they have imperfections. If we zoom in on the pins inside of a lock, nothing fits perfectly and there's roughness and all kinds of issues. This creates a lot of ways for a pin to get stuck in the unlocked position. I could pull sideways on the lower part of this lock, then push up on the pins and get the red pin stuck on this little edge. If I can find a way to do this for every pin in the lock, then that's it, it's unlocked. This is equivalent to guessing a password 1 letter at a time. For each letter, you have a maximum of 26 options. At most, it'll take 130 guesses instead of 12 million. That is the essence of lockpicking. Break the problem down into a series of tractable small problems. The one that I've made here is that they typically rotate a cylinder rather than sliding. Lock designers have come up with all kinds of tricks to make locks harder to pick. Some locks are so good they're almost impossible. But in the end, someone usually finds a way to set pins individually and pick the lock. The key idea behind my lock is that it eliminates the ability to pick one pin at a time. You have to try all the combinations, which makes picking it intractable. Here's my conceptual idea for how to do that. You start with a normal lock with a normal key that sets all the pins to the correct height. Except this lock is somehow designed such that you cannot test if the pins are at the correct height until you do a few things. First, you somehow lock the pins in place so they can't drop if the key loses contact with them. Then you separate the key from the pins, which stay in place because they've been locked. And then this is very hand-wavy, but you insert some kind of barrier between the key and the pins. Then you test the pins to see if they're set correctly. This strategy leaves no possible way to test only one pin at once, or to change your guess once the pins are being subject to all the possible combinations. Good luck, have fun. Conceptually, this lock is really quite simple, but designing a mechanism that I can actually make, it's a whole other story. How do I lock the pins in place? How do I fit it into a normal-sized deadbolt? How do I make it resettable? So after protracted wailing and gnashing of teeth, here's the design that I finally came up with. As a point of reference, this has taken me about 3 times as long as moving a basketball hoop. There's a whole lot going on here, so let's take it one piece at a time. At the center of the lock is this core that accepts the key, and already we have a part that's essentially impossible to manufacture. Just look at the way that it cuts left and right, folks. He's certainly in a tight spot. Let's see how he handles this one. Mr. Stuff, breaking it up into manageable pieces. You cannot make this stuff up. I would love to know where he pulled that tool from. Looks like the perfect tool for the job, and it sounds like the crowd agrees.
This one's the perfect gift for the friend who's been getting a little too comfortable with quarantine, maybe your son, a father, or your boyfriend. In which case, it's really a gift for yourself, ladies and gents.
This little new addition to the mill is a Tormach Micro Arc. Contrary to what the name implies, it doesn't hold 2 of every little animal. It allows me to spin a part while I'm machining it. And I could not have made the parts for this lock without this thing. It's awesome. It uses a harmonic gearbox, which is like basically science fiction technology. I'm going to resist digging into it for now, but maybe someday, because it's really cool. And here's where I reveal how my map really works. It mostly comes down to this very complicated and hard to make part that holds the core and some very special pins. Putting the key in pushes these little pins up. If I take another pin and put it on top of the pin being pushed up, I can find a way to freeze this pin at whatever height the lower pin pushed it to. and then I can swing it sideways. Once it loses contact with the pin that pushed it up, there's no way for the key or a person trying to pick the lock to change its height. Then you can try to pass it through a gate that it only goes through if it's at the right height. So when you put it all together, all of the pins be set correctly, and there's no way to individually pick each pin. It kind of looks like a little pig, doesn't it? I've hand waved away this mechanism that locks the pins in place, but I think you're old enough for the truth now. This mechanism is the worst. So there's this bar right here that we push with the key. If we look at this from the top, you might think I could do something like this where I just push a little lock bar over, which will hit each key right here and lock them in place. But this doesn't work. If things aren't the exact perfect size, it'll hit one pin before it hits another, and it'll never touch it. So this will not get locked. What I've been attempting to make is a system where each little finger that can lock a pin is floating on a spring. That way each one can individually compress different amounts. I can guarantee that they all make contact. This has been hard for a lot of reasons related to actuating it with a key, keeping things from binding up, dealing with grease and other things that change friction. I have made so many of these designs, both with flexural springs, with real springs, with all different kinds of ramp geometries, and it has been a huge pain. At this point, I still don't have it working reliably, but I'm gonna finish the rest of the lock so I can test the whole system.
How would you like it cut? 35,000 off the top, please. Do anything fun this weekend? I hung out with my son. He's a real chick off the old block. Oh, wow, cool.
Getting it shrouded and mounted on a door was actually surprisingly tricky because I have moving parts everywhere that want to interfere with the mount. So now it looks nice, but it still doesn't work. So it's 5 a.m. and no, I didn't get up early. Remember how I talked about remaking parts over and over again? I did that for 3 more days. I finally ran out of ways to do it wrong, and I cracked it. It's the first time I've ever tried it in the deadbolt. It's the smallest thing, but you would not believe how great it feels to see that deadbolt go in. It unlocked. There's just a little mechanism inside this that does exactly what it's designed to do. I just love it. I did try to pick it to make sure I wasn't missing something totally obvious, and as I expected, I couldn't do anything. I've put off calling a locksmith as absolutely long as I can, but it's time for me to look fate in the face and see how they judge me. I found a locksmith that specializes in picking locks, and the first thing that they tried to do was to set the pins individually using a variety of different tools. It turns out they weren't able to set more than one pin at once, thanks to the pin locking mechanism, so unexpected bonus security feature. So with this first approach that they were using, they weren't close to picking the lock at all. They also tried a technique called bumping, and this is what I was most afraid of. It launches the pins upwards very hard and fast by hammering a special key into the lock, and I was afraid they'd be able to launch the pins and quickly rotate the cylinder and get them to land in the right spots and go through the gates, but they couldn't.
I don't think it will work.
They gave it a solid effort and tried for quite a while. Eventually, there was just nothing else to try.
Yeah. We tried.
Yeah. Thank you for trying. And I'm not sure why I was so stressed about something that doesn't matter, but I really was. It's definitely resistant to the standard attacks.
Yeah, standard proof.
That bump key, it's just like watching them hit my child with a hammer.
Really? That's your baby.
I spent all this time raising my kid. I don't want to see them fail when it matters the most. You know what I mean?
I don't even know what to say to that.
I wouldn't say it's unpickable. I don't think there's enough evidence to say that. I think that it is a strong lock. I think that it is formidable.
You know who you should send it to? The lockpicking lawyer.
I would love to send it to the lockpicking lawyer. Let us know if you'd like to see that, and hopefully we can make it happen.
If you want us to send it to the lockpicking lawyer, don't bark.
I would definitely make some upgrades before sending it to him. More pins, more power, you know, all that stuff. One other thing that I wanted to point out is that this thing is not going to be important. It's not going to be commercially viable. The main value is just the educational aspects. The mechanical complexity just far outweighs any benefit. If you want a truly unpickable lock, just get a lock that doesn't have a key. So, did you like my white tracking trebuchet?
I appreciate the learning experience.
What did you learn?
I learned nothing, but hopefully our daughter learned something.
I built a robot to track and fire upon my wife as if she was a medieval target, thanks to this video's sponsor, KiwiCo. I love KiwiCo. They provide a service that I think is really important. I've mentioned before that so much that I know how to do, I learned outside of school. My parents gave me all kinds of building and project kits. This is one of the first complete models I did with no help. Doing these projects taught me so many skills, and it formed a solid foundation that I built so many of my other skills on top of. KiwiCo is awesome because every month they send you a crate with everything that you need to do a complete project start to finish. I've built and modified a number of these in their awesome projects. There's the main project, but then there's an entire magazine that goes into all the concepts behind the thing that you built, and then there's other projects that you can build with the pieces that came with the kit. I added a few off-the-shelf components to this and turned it into a wife tracking trebuchet. Hey wife, come check this out.
Whoa.
Learning.
Learning what?
Learning this storming the castle. Just remember, it's never too early to teach your children about medieval siege strategies. It's not all trebuchets. They have 8 different lines for different age groups and interests. I was really excited when I saw they have a line of crates that's just a little bit more suitable for my daughter's age. So whether it's for a child, a relative, yourself, honestly, this is really fun to build. Give the gift of knowledge and skill. It's a long-term investment that you're not going to regret. Can you imagine the skill that you would build from doing these crates every month for a year or two? I am so thankful to have been exposed to these kinds of kits growing up. If you go to kiwico.com/stuffmadehere, you'll get 50% off your first crate, and you'll also be supporting this channel. Although I'm not planning on selling any Stuff brand locks, you can still support this channel by subscribing, if you think I earned it, checking out my Patreon, where you can support these projects directly, and get a behind-the-scenes view, as well as taking a minute to check out any sponsors. It helps me a lot, and it is much appreciated.
Today we find out the Pop Tab is mightier than the sword. Even a simple Google image search for Pop Tab chainmail turns up hundreds of results. People are even selling this stuff on Etsy. As far as I'm aware, though, nobody's really tested whether it'll actually hold up to a proper blow from a sword. And while it might seem obvious that it won't, the thing is, it just might. See, from what I've read, chainmail was primarily intended to protect you from slicing attacks. That said, traditional chainmail would have been made from steel rings, not aluminum. And steel is much more resilient. Because of the way that chainmail protects you, even for as Pop Tabs are, I think we might just get away with our lives. To keep things interesting, I've decided to use 2 swords. A nice sturdy one that I found online, and one that I'm making from heavy-duty aluminum foil. Honestly, I'm just curious to see if there's any difference in results between them. Alright, with the background out of the way, let's get into the build. So, I actually scooped this package of 10,000 Pop Tabs from eBay for only about 40 bucks. Supposedly, these are high-quality Pop Tabs. I don't really know what that means, but I assume it's a good thing. Are they just loose in here? Oh, that's hilarious. Dude, I feel like the Scrooge McDuck of Pop Tabs. Right, so with so many tabs, there's actually a method here. The first step is to remove little rings in your tabs. You gotta cut this half. So I'm just gonna line that up with the middle there. Apparently the staple mover gives the perfect amount of bend. Bend down, and then apparently this is your link. So I'm gonna see if I can enlist some buddies to help. So this might not look like a lot, but this is about 1/3 the box that we started out with. I think this is roughly enough. I think it's just going to be better to kind of get started. Like I showed way at the beginning, the tabs basically just link to each other. What I'm learning, and I'll show you up close, the easiest way I'm finding to link these together is actually to put them down on the table and then kind of just push down and slide to link them together. The other thing is, because they're metal, they don't stretch like a t-shirt, but it should be about t-shirt size. So I'm thinking about just going for like kind of a big scoop neck. So let's recap. This guy right here has been outfitted fully in an aluminum pop-tab chainmail suit. Feels pretty protective, looks pretty good. So, to test this guy out, we're obviously gonna need some kind of a blade. I picked up an actual sword online. The other thing I want to try, though, is actually making an aluminum sword. Alrighty, so while I was at the store the other day picking up some stuff, I got this official no-brand aluminum foil. I think I'm gonna try outlining like a general sword shape, and then using a bunch of layers kind of folded back and forth, and then see if I can hammer it over itself. To kind of attempt to forge this a little bit, we're gonna be applying heat to let the metal melt into itself. I don't know if that's doing crap. What's your idea?
The only thing that I could think is if you had sharp edge where you would be applying more pressure on a particular spot.
Definitely making the middle stiffer. Alright, so what we're gonna attempt now is we're gonna try rolling this into kind of like one piece rather than folding it over afterward. I think that was just causing it to separate as I tried to hammer it into itself. So this time we're gonna try and make more of like a rod or a tube and then flatten that. And now I'm gonna pound it after applying some heat. I could do a longer piece like I was doing yesterday, but I think that honestly, I'm not going to be able to get an edge on this, so there's not much reason to make it really long. I'm going to try to focus on getting a good point on it, so there's the potential for it to stab through the armor rather than to slice through. And after taking it through the sander, I'm actually getting kind of an edge on it. I just tested on this piece of tape. It does indeed stab. I think that this is what we're going to go with. So now we're on to our other option, which is an actual freaking sword. Look at this thing. You can tell that it's pretty crappy quality, but it is full tang, so it should, since it's high carbon steel, be theoretically battle ready. When these come from China, they are not sharp at all. Look at this. I'm really trying to kill myself. We needed a way to sharpen it. Now, I am not a sword sharpening expert, but apparently people say online that you can use these things, which, I mean, it's a handheld kitchen knife sharpener. So we're gonna take a stab at that. For some reason, I'm having a bit of a difficult time getting this one side to sharpen. I'm using this knife sharpener, which should just be putting an edge straight on here that's basically the same as a knife edge. But the problem I'm having, and I'm not sure whether it's due to the quality of the steel or the way that I'm using the knife sharpener or whatever, but I can't seem to get like a very good, consistent edge on here. For example, it'll be sharp in one section of the blade, but then in a different section, it won't be sharp at all. I'm not sure why this is happening, but I think that it has to do with this sharpener kind of messing up the geometry of the blade itself. So, if I want to put an edge on it, I think I'm going to need a different approach. Using a grinder will get us close enough to have a good edge. To be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing with this grinding mill, so I've got my dad here to help me out, who, I mean, he owns the grinding wheel. The most important thing is that you just try to approximate a 30-degree angle, since that's the angle at which you want your blade to be cut. That looks pretty promising, honestly.
I gotta go back to the other side. If you want this part of the blade, you need to reset the jig.